Hi, I'm Todd Jones, host of the podcast Pressbox Access. Here's a clip from my interview with Marla Ridenour. Marla recalls walking the old course while covering Jack Nicklaus's final British Open at St Andrews, Scotland in 2005. But let's go to the British Open. In 2005, you and I both got to cover Jack Nicklaus's final British Open at St Andrews, Scotland, and we were there for that. And I know it's a treasured moment in my own career. How does it stack up in what you got to cover?
I'd say it's right up there with the biggest moments I've ever covered. I mean, you can talk about affirmed and Aladar Triple Crown and the drive and the fumble, and we can talk about those later. But
we will. Don't worry.
But just for the moment itself. I mean, although I did read a little bit of what I wrote this morning, kind of in a little diary I kept, and I really wasn't as emotional as I thought I was going to be. But it's obviously still like one of my most treasured memories from my career.
Yeah, I think at the time I used to play a lot of golf. It's back before I had kids and I had time. But just going to the old course itself, the birthplace of golf, and then you add in that it was a major championship, and then you add in that it was Jack's final Open. There was just a lot of history swirling around there. Do you have any specific memories about that week?
Well, it's you and I probably have the favorite one, and I did look this up. It was on the 9th hole when Jack's teeing off at the tees above our heads, and you and I were crouched down kind of below this hill. And
I know where you're going with this. Wait a minute. Let me set this up. I was only there because Bob Baptist, our longtime golf writer at the Columbus Dispatch, did not go. And so Jack Nicklaus was always used to dealing with Bob Baptist. So, all right, go ahead. Jack hits his tee shot.
So Jack hits his tee shot, and he comes down off of this little hill and walks right beside us. And he looks over at you and I, and he says, well, he's specifically looking at you, and he says, "Where's Bob?" And I mean, here he is in like the most memorable round, you would think the most memorable round of his life. And he's wondering, where in the heck is Bob Baptist? I will never forget that as long as I live. And the cool thing about that too is, there were a lot of people there that were there for the first like 3 or 4 holes. Then they didn't go out to the back 9, which kind of juts out into the water. So there weren't that many people out there. So I feel like it was kind of, and then they, picked up like 15, 16, they rejoined Jack. So I felt like that was almost a private moment for you and I with Nicklaus that not a whole lot of people got.
Yeah, we got to walk. I think we walked all 18 holes. I mean, who wouldn't, right? It's Nicklaus. His playing partner was Tom Watson. It's the old course, and you're going to sit in the media tent and not go out and walk and see the detail and experience it. I know I wasn't going to miss it. I remember too the course itself. You see it on television, but when you're there, it sounds crazy to say, but it's not really impressive. I mean, it is because of the history, but it doesn't look like an American golf course like we're used to, right? It just kind of looks like this rolling, I don't want to say cow pasture, but it's just real flat. I mean, rolling, but the grass is kind of brownish, and there's no trees. There wasn't a lot of things that we're used to seeing, right?
No, I mean, I was struck with how brown it was. I mean, it's like, it's not like they're spending tons of money. I mean, it's a public course. I mean, they're not spending tons of money, but there really aren't any trees. I mean, there wasn't much shade, I think I was sunburned even though I had sunscreen on, but I mean, I think the beauty of it is the part that's, when you get close to the water. But I mean, it was like, after Jack was done, I walked around in the final round when Tiger won. And
oh yeah, Tiger. Remember that guy?
Yeah. And, but it was cool because it was kind of like that when he won the Tour Championship. Fans came up, like crowded around the green at the end. They were allowed to walk on the course, when it was over. I mean, it's just it's a special place. The town is incredibly charming. And I must note that I did pay my way to go there.
You paid your way.
Yes. Well, I mean, they
have a GoFundMe or
well, no.
Send Marla to the British Open.
I actually, this was back in the day when you can use frequent flyer tickets and go to 2 different places. So I went to Italy afterwards. So I went there first, but I paid for my room at the dorm at the University of St. Andrews, and
that dorm.
But I mean, I really do. I feel like it was worth every penny I spent just for the moment, the chance to see the town, the fun we had in the pubs, and just the whole thing was worth it.
Yeah, and just seeing Nicholas, he played really well. I went back and looked at that. I'm like, if he had putted well, I mean, he would have made the cut at his age, which was unbelievable. And even on the last hole, right, he does the ceremonial on the bridge, and I remember looking at that, going, "This looks like something out of a movie." And then people, even Tom Watson was crying, and they go up the fairway, and then Watson had to make a putt to make the cut, and he made it. And then Nicholas had a putt, probably a good 12-footer downhill, curved, and of course, Jack being Jack, he made the putt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the perfect. I think that's what made it perfect, even though he didn't play, like lights out. I mean, it was just the perfect. The competitor finished it off, perfectly.
Yeah, and you mentioned the town. What a great place, right? I mean, the course basically just sits as part of the town. I mean, you walk 30 yards off the 18th fairway, and there's a street, there's cars, there's stores, there's pubs right on the fairway. Did you expect to see that? I mean, you've seen photos, but to see it in person, what kind of perspective did that give you?
Well, I guess I was most impressed by, or surprised by the fact that the town is small and it's all kind of crowded in there, and you can walk everywhere. I mean, I would highly recommend for anyone that wants to go somewhere, that's definitely worth it. So, but it was kind of a. I mean, you've got the graveyard where old Tom Morris is buried, and
Right.
all those. I mean, like churches that are like partially destroyed, but they're still there. I mean, it's
From
just
the wars, yeah.
yeah, from the wars, and the bombings, and I mean, it was just. I mean, the whole thing has got a magical quality to it, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. The only thing I was a little disappointed in, we didn't really get the typical British Open weather. I think there was like 9 holes where it rained sideways and the wind was howling. But you're right, we got a lot of sunshine, and which was great and was fun. But I was kind of hoping to experience that, off the North Sea where the storms coming in and guys are hitting balls all over the place. But still, what a magical place. And the town had a few pubs, right?
Oh yeah, we in fact, I think it was my last day there after the round was over. I went to one that was right by the 18th, right outside the course, and the locals treated me like like a local. It was great. They were very friendly. It was really really something. Really
Yeah, and then
something
at
fun.
night you would leave the pub and then you'd be walking back towards your dorm room at the university, and you cut across the course, and people were out walking around on the course. It's like a city park, even during the tournament, right? There were people walking their dogs on the 18th fairway.
Yeah, I mean it's like I mean, it's not like it's hallowed ground that you don't tread on, you fear to tread on. It's like, it's part of everyday life there. I mean, that's what's, I guess, when I contrast it to the times I've been to the Masters in Augusta, it's like you're afraid to mess up a blade of grass. Well, that's not the feeling at St. Andrews.
Yeah, the feeling is it belongs to everybody else, right?
Right.
And it's inclusive, and that was a good feeling. The only thing I didn't like that week was the fire alarm being pulled at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, and oh my God, like I said, I looked at my diary. I mean, I cannot believe there was like, mostly they were media, like, the locals had their press passes around their necks at 3 or 4 a.m. And
Yeah.
there were women in curlers and people with blankets. And I mean,
Yeah, I remember standing outside with Mark Wicker, and I'm like, Mark, what are we? What is
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah. But I distinctly remember that they were very ticked off and said, we know someone was smoking in here, and this can't happen. I mean, my room was made out of plywood. I mean, it had
Oh
plywood.
yeah, it looked like something Lowe's just dropped off there, and some guys hammered a few things together, and hey, let's put the media in there.
Yes, no, but I mean, you could understand why the fire alarm was so touchy, because, like I said, the place could have been up in smoke in, a matter of minutes.
Well, I think that's all we're going to reveal out of that diary of yours, because I don't want to know any more details about what happened that week, because I think I turned 40 that week, and there was a few sodas involved in a pub. We'll leave it at that. So,
Yes, there were
but
definitely a few of those.